Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Sorry for the delay. We're live now. We're able to continue. Sorry. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Puri Rajakacharya, Ashtotar Satashri Srimad, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath, Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mayi Ki Jai, Jamuna Mayi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, everyone, and welcome for Sri Caitanya Caritamrita with His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami. Sorry for the delay. We were in a new location and needed to get that network passcode. So today we're starting with Caitanya Caritamrita, Adi Leela, and where are my notes here? We're at chapter 10, and I have us starting with verse number 106. Is that what we have? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Just a moment, I have to type in a password on another computer. So let us get to that text here. Shankararanya Acharya Brikshera Eka Shakha Mukunda Kashinata Rudra Upashakha Lekha. The Acharya Shankararanya was considered the 48th branch of the original tree. From him proceeded the sub-branches known as Mukunda, Kashinatha, and Rudra. Purport. It is said that Shankararanya was the sannyas name of Srila Vishvarupa, who was the elder brother of Vishvambar, the original name of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shankararanya expired in 1432 Shakabda, AD 1510, at Sholapur, where there is a place of pilgrimage known as Pandarapur. This is referred to in the Madhya Lila, chapter 9, verses 299 and 300. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu opened a primary school in the house of Mukunda, or Mukunda Sanjaya. And Mukunda's son, whose name was Purushottama, became the Lord's student. Kashinath arranged the marriage of Lord Chaitanya in his previous ashram when his name was Vishvambhara. Kashinath induced the court Pandit Sanatana to offer Vishvambhara his daughter. In text 50 of the Gaura Ganodesh Deepika, it is mentioned that Kashinath was an incarnation of the Brahmana Kulaka, whom Satrajit sent to arrange the marriage of Krishna and Satyabhama. And in text 135, it is mentioned that Rudra, or Sri Rudra Ram Pandit, was formerly a friend of Lord Krishna's named Varutapa. Sri Rudra Ram Pandit constructed a big temple at Vallabhapur, which is 1 mile north of Mahesha, for the deities named Radha Vallabha. The descendants of his brother Yadunandana Vandyopadhyaya are known as Chakravarti Thakurs, and they are in charge of the maintenance of this temple as Sevites. Formerly, the Jagannath deity used to come to the temple of Radha Vallabha from Mahesha during the Ratha Yatra festival, but in the Bengali years 1262 AD 1855, due to a misunderstanding between the priests of the two temples, the Jagannath deity stopped coming. Om Ajnanatimirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanang Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I certainly don't have much to say about this particular verse, but I've always find it interesting when Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati gives evidence that some particular devotee in Chaitanya Leela has an identity in Krishna Leela also. It's always interesting to see how the personalities match up. That, for example, they perform this particular function in Krishna Leela, this Brahmana Kulaka, whom Satrajit sent to arrange the marriage of Krishna and Satyabhama. So this Kashinath was, yes. Anyway, he's a figure in Chaitanya Leela, so there's a parallel there, that some arrangement of marriages between Krishna and his eternal consort. It's very interesting to see. Maharaj, do you have any comments on this verse?
Brief. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashrita Shatarnine. Brief note that Sholapur, where Shankararanya Acharya expired, is a large district in the state of Maharashtra, and within Sholapur, Pandharpur is a very famous place of pilgrimage. There is the temple of Vittal, Rukmini Vittal, and yeah. I also find it interesting that due to a misunderstanding between the priests of the two temples, the deity stopped coming. We see such misunderstandings persisting down to the present day. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. So our text 107. Ross Prabhu, would you like to read our text 107 perhaps?
107 was the previous one? Or okay, that's where we're on now. 107.
107 is where we are now, yes.
Srinath Pandita Prabhura Kripara Bhajana Gandhara Krishna Seva Deki Vatsa Sri Bhuvana. Translation. Srinath Pandit, the 49th branch, was the beloved recipient of all the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Everyone in the three worlds was astonished to see how he worshipped Lord Krishna. Purport. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhasya that 1.5 miles away from Kumarhata, or Kamarhata, which is a few miles from Calcutta, is a village known as Kancha Dapara, which was the home of Sri Shivananda Sena. There he constructed a temple of Sri Guru Gopala. Srinath Pandit established another temple there with Sri Radhakrishna Murtis. The deity of that temple is named Sri Krishna Rai. The temple of Krishna Rai, which was constructed in the year 1708, Sakabda, AD 1786, by a prominent zamindar named Nimai Mullik of Paturiagat in Calcutta, is very large. There is a big courtyard in front of the temple, and there are residential quarters for visitors and good arrangements for cooking prasadam. The entire courtyard is surrounded by very high boundary walls, and the temple is almost as big as the Mahesh temple. Inscribed on a tablet are the names of Srinath Pandit and his father and grandfather, and the date of construction of the temple. Srinath Pandit, one of the disciples of Advaita Prabhu, was the spiritual master of the third son of Shivananda Sen, who was known as Paramananda Kavi Karnapura. It is said that the Krishna Rai deity was installed during the time of Kavi Karnapura. According to hearsay, Virabhadra Prabhu, the son of Nityananda Prabhu, brought a big stone from Murshidabad, from which three deities were carved, namely the Radha Vallabha Vigraha of Vallabhapura, the Shamasundara Vigraha of Gadadaha, and the Sri Krishna Rai Vigraha of Kanchadapada. The home of Shivananda Sen was situated on the bank of the Ganges, near an almost ruined temple. It is said that the same Nimai Mullik of Calcutta saw this broken down temple of Krishna Rai while he was going to Benares, and thereafter constructed the present temple.
Thank you, Prabhu Maharaj. Would you have anything to comment here?
Yeah, I have more, quite fair amount to add from a book by Gopinath Acharya from our Oxford Center. He's written a book, a Vaishnav poet in early modern Bengal, that poet being Kavi Karnapur. And since Srinath Pandit was the spiritual master of Kavi Karnapur, he's given us a discussion about him. So this is all quoted from the book. Crucial to an understanding of Kavi Karnapur's thought are the teachings of his own guru, Srinath Pandit, or Srinath Chakravarti. Kavi Karnapur deeply imbibed his teacher's mood, and many of Kavi Karnapur's key theological ideas can be traced to Srinath's work. As with his student, however, very little is known about Srinath, and the earliest references to him are found in Kavi Karnapur's own works. Nearly every work of Kavi Karnapur's contains verses praising his teacher. Most of these verses are eulogies and expressions of humility, and therefore not of great historical importance. But from one verse of the Gaur-Ganodesh Deepika, we learn that he was a resident of Kumarhata, where he erected a temple and established an image of Krishna called Krishnadev. That's Krishnadev Rai. The image is still worshipped there, although the current brick structure dates from the late 18th century, when the temple was rebuilt, as we heard in the purport. The pedestal, Padmasana, on which the image of Krishnadev stands, still contains an inscription stating, "Glory to Sri Krishnadev Roy, who personally appeared in the Kali age out of compassion for a blessed Brahmin named Srinath." Little is known about Srinath, although he must have been prominent in the region of Kumarhata. Krishnadas Kaviraj, who, as we've seen, was from the area, declares that Srinath Pandit was a recipient of the Lord's grace. Seeing his worship of Krishna, Krishna Seva, the three worlds were enthralled. That's our present verse. In the final act of the Chaitanya Chandrodaya, Kavi Karnapur describes that one year, a month before the annual pilgrimage to Puri, a young Brahmin visits Advaita's home. He is singular, immensely pleasant, like an elixir for the world's eyes, youthful, handsome, charming both internally and externally by his naturally arising rasa of love, prema, for Sri Krishna. A moon in the Brahmin community called Srinath. Advaita is immediately attracted by the great character of the young man and asks him to travel with him to Puri, where he will arrange a private meeting with Caitanya. When the devotees arrive in Puri, Srikanta, Shivananda's nephew, reports the arrival to Caitanya, and the following dialogue takes place. And this is quoted. And the source is there. I just wonder if I go to the source, will I be able to get back? Yeah. Seems that this is Chaitanya Chandrodaya. So Mahaprabhu says in this drama, Srikanta, what then? Whom of them have I never seen before? Srikanta says, Lord, Advaitacharya's sons, beginning with Vishnudas and Gopaldas, and someone else from Advaita's group called Srinath, who is loved by all. Mahaprabhu, why did he leave Shivananda's company and join him, that is, Advaita? Srikanta, he, Advaita, consoled Srinath and said, I will bring you secretly to Mahaprabhu and will make you accept his special grace. Mahaprabhu, laughing, to Swarup Damodar, listen, let's make Advaita's plan particularly wonderful. Swarup, show him some affection and become his friend. And you, Shankar, be very kind toward him. The company of equals is certainly sweet for all involved. And then both Swarup and Shankar reply, as the Lord commands. Swarup Damodar one of the most intimate companions of Chaitanya, is said to have authored a work on Chaitanya called the Katacha notebook, which has not survived and might have been nothing more than some unstructured notes. Krishnadas Kaviraj, who received the work from Raghunath Das, Swarup's disciple, relied on it for his theological interpretation of Chaitanya's life in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Kavi Karnapur used the work in a similar way in the Gauda Ganodesh Tipika. If Srinath and Swarup Damodar were indeed friends, as suggested in the above passage, it would make sense that Srinath would have passed Swarup's views of Chaitanya on to his disciple, that is, Kavi Karnapur. Though Srinath himself makes no mention of Advaita, and though Krishnadas lists him among Chaitanya's disciples rather than among Advaita's, some later authors claim that he was Advaita's disciple, as perhaps this passage from the Chaitanya Chandrodaya suggests. Thus, according to Nityananda Das's Prem Vilas, Srinath, a leading scholar, Pandit Pradhan, studied the Bhagavatam with Advaita and received initiation, Diksha, from him. However, Nityananda Das adds, Krishnadas describes him in the Chaitanya Charitamrita as the 49th branch of the Chaitanya tree, independent from Advaita's branch, because he received Chaitanya's grace. So there's some back and forth here about whether Srinath Pandit was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disciple, Advaita Prabhu's disciple. We'll hear a little more about that. Although it's essentially admitted that he's ultimately coming from both. In the Advaita Mangal, a 17th century hagiography of Advaita, Haricharan Das also mentions Srinath Acharya as my Lord's, Advaita's, best disciple, who headed one of the large branches of my Lord's followers and was an important source for his book. However, Haricharan Das's account of Srinath conflicts with what we know about him from his disciple, Kavi Karnapur. He describes Srinath as a southern Brahmin whom Advaita met on his travels. Srinath later becomes the family priest of Sanatana Goswami's father, Haricharan Das claims, and saw the brothers Sanatan, Rup, and Ballabh grow up. Kavi Karnapur, however, writes that his guru was a young man, Navina Vayas, when he first met Advaita, shortly before the annual pilgrimage to Puri, decades after Sanatan and his brothers were born. Haricharan Das introduces in the Advaita Mangal many characters from Advaita's early life not known from other texts, and given the great discrepancies with Kavi Karnapur's account, it is difficult to determine whether he did indeed have Kavi Karnapur's guru in mind. Nevertheless, this Srinath has often been identified as Kavi Karnapur's teacher, which thus reinforces the popular idea that Srinath was indeed a disciple of Advaita. So it seems there may have been two Srinaths here, and they may have been conflated. Either way, we have Srinath being inspired or instructed both by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Advaita Prabhu. As we will see, Kavi Karnapur praises Advaita profusely in his works, and in the introduction to the Ananda Vrindavan, immediately before offering his respects to Srinath, acknowledges his guru's teachers. He brings homage to Chaitanya's dear companions, headed by Advaita, who are affectionate at heart and destroy the sins of the world, as well as those headed by Sarup, who are sweet with rasa and have the same love, all the same virtues, and the same compassion. Srinath is best known as the author of the Chaitanya Mata Manjusa, the treasure chest containing the ideas of Chaitanya, a commentary on the Bhagavad Purana. The work never achieved the same popularity as the Bhagavad commentaries of Sanatan and Jiva, and today his commentary is quite unknown, both among scholars and among practitioners. It has been published only twice. The most recent edition was published in the 1950s, both times in Bengali script, and very few manuscripts of the text survive. The text is nevertheless of great historical importance. The commentary is undated, but could be the earliest commentary on the Bhagavatam from the Chaitanya tradition. More importantly, it is one of the few comprehensive theological texts of the early movement to have emerged from Bengal, far from the intellectual center in Braj, and as such reflects the early intellectual developments of the Chaitanya movement in Bengal. The somewhat unusual title of the commentary becomes clearer from the famous opening verse of the work. Aradhyo Bhagavan Prajesha Tanayas Tadhama Vrindavan Ramya Kachirupasana Vrajabadhu Vargena Yakolpita Shastram Bhagavatam Pramana Mamalam Prema Pumarto Mahan Ittam Gauda Mahaprabhur Mataman Atas Tadradaro Napadaha. The son of Braja's king, Krishna, is the Lord who should be worshipped. His abode is Vrindavan. The lovely method of worship performed by the gopis is the highest. The scripture, Bhagavata, is the spotless means of knowledge, pramana, and love, prema, is the greatest goal of human life. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's thought, and for us, there is nothing other than this. This verse establishes Srinath's hermeneutical strategy, his way of explaining things. His entire commentary is meant to show that the Bhagavad, from its first verse to the end, to the very end, teaches these teachings of Chaitanya. To achieve this, Srinath admits he often offers novel interpretations and sometimes goes against widely established readings of the texts, but justifies these by referring to other passages of the Bhagavata, other texts like the Bhagavad Gita, specific authoritative grammatical rules, or a different breaking of the sandhi, combinations of words. So that's how he that tells us something of his approach to Bhagavatam commentation. He himself says, well, sometimes the interpretations are novel and not what everybody, what the standard readings say, but we have evidence or support from other sources. Srinath shows a very thorough knowledge of the Bhagavad and a deep insight into its theological structure and textual coherence. Apart from an abundance of intratextual references, Srinath quotes a wide variety of sources, some Vaishnava Upanishads, the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita, some Puranas, and several texts on poetics. No Nyaya, Vedanta, or Mimamsa text is quoted, although at several places Srinath shows his familiarity with the ideas of these schools. So that's the relevant passage. There are later discussions in various parts of Gopinath Acharya's book about specific teachings given by Srinath Acharya and how they influenced Kavi Karnapur. But here's the some substantial introductory information. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for reading all that, Maharaj. That is certainly substantial information, and it's a great service of Gopinath Acharya Prabhu to bring it all, make it all available. There's some things in the chat. Ross Prabhu, can you read them for us?
Yes. Praveen Prabhu writes, Pandharpura, there is the temple of Lord Vital and Queen Rukmini. One is still allowed to touch the lotus feet of Lord Vital. Saint Tukaram ascended to Vaikuntha with his same body like Maharaj Dhruva. The Mahesh Jagannath temple is still present today, and one could get very nice prasadam. Praveen Prabhu asks, what is the name of the commentary by Srinath Thakur?
Chaitanya Mata Manjushah, the treasure chest of Chaitanya Mata. Mata means the views, the thoughts of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mata Manjushah.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Maharaj. Is there someone else there on site with you, Maharaj, who would like to read our next verse, perhaps?
I'm sure Rakesh would be willing.
8.
Yes.
Jagannatha Prabhura Priya Dasa Prabhura Ajñate Teho Kaile Ganga Vasa. Jagannath Acharya, the 50th branch of the Chaitanya tree, was an extremely dear servant of the Lord, by whose order he decided to live on the bank of the Ganges. Jagannath Acharya is stated in the Gaur Ganesh Deepika 111 to have formerly been Durvasa of Niduvana. Next one, 109. Krishnadasa Vaidyara Pandita Shekhara Kavichandra Ara Kirtaniya Shastivara. The 51st branch of the Chaitanya tree was Krishnadasa Vaidya. The 52nd was Pandita Shekhara. The 53rd was Kavichandra, and the 54th was Shastivara, who was a great Sankirtan performer. In the Gaur Ganesh Deepika 171, It is said that Kavichandra was Manohar Gopi and that Srinatha Mishra, mentioned in the next verse, was Chitrangi.
Just a brief comment here. Kirtaniya Shashtivar. Shashtivar is known for his kirtan. So on one side, any sincere person can chant Hare Krishna and lead kirtan. And there are no, any sincere person can lead chanting of Hare Krishna. And on the other side, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself recognized certain devotees, in particular, as kirtan leaders. This Junior Haridas, who discussed in Chaitanya Caritamrita, was known for his kirtan. And in the kirtan, in the Rath Yatra at Puri, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appointed different devotees. He had 7 or 9 kirtan parties. And for each kirtan party, this person was the leader. So he appointed different devotees that Mukunda Ghosh, Madhava Ghosh, they're famous as kirtaniyas. And who is that person? Vakreshwara Pandit, of course, for his dancing and kirtan. So it's not just that sort of the flat earth that everybody's equally, what's the word, noted for kirtan. There's some devotees who are particularly appreciated for their kirtan. As we see in the deity worship, that everyone can worship the deity, but then certain devotees are particularly noted for their expertise in dressing the deity or for the devotion of their worship. So at the same time that we declare that every devotee can chant Hare Krishna and that any sincere person can lead kirtan, at the same time there are acknowledged leaders. They're kirtaniyas. They're noted, and even they're named Kirtaniya Shashtivar. Shashtivar the Kirtaniya. That also, since names get repeated, we need some way sometimes to distinguish one person from another. So which Shashtivar? Kirtaniya Shashtivar. The Shashtivar who's the expert or celebrated kirtan leader. Kirtaniya Shashtivar. So just as we Kalakanta. Which Kalakanta? Krishna House Kalakanta, or Agriculture Minister Kalakanta. So we distinguish by their service, the service for which they're most known, or by which they're well known. Hare Krishna. And the same thing here, Krishnadas Vaidya. Which Krishnadas? Oh, the Vaidya Krishnadas. Vaidya is the doctor. So that Krishnadas. In ISKCON, we have sometimes other approaches to it. Krishnadas RNS or Krishnadas JPS. So we identify people by whose disciple they are, or by their service, or by their city. Russian Krishnadas or Argentine Krishnadas. So sort of a nice situation to be in, where we have to find these designations because there's so many Krishnadases, so many Govindadases. It's an opulence. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Would Rakesh Prabhu like to read a couple more verses?
Srinatha Mishra, Shubhananda, Sri Rama Ishana, Srinadi, Sri Gopi Kanta Mishra Bhagavana. The 55th branch was Srinath Mishra. The 56th was Shubhananda. The 57th was Sri Rama. The 58th was Ishana. The 59th was Srinidhi. The 60th was Sri Gopikanta. And the 61st was Mishra Bhagavan. Shubhananda who formerly lived in Vrindavan as Malati, was one of the Kirtan performers who danced in front of the Rath Yatra car during the Jagannath festival. It is said that he ate the foam that came out of the Lord, out of the mouth of the Lord, while he danced before the Rath Yatra. Ishana was the personal servant of Srimati Sachi Devi, who showered her great mercy on him. He was also very dear to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shubhuddhi Mishra Hridayananda Kamala Nayana Mahesha Pandita Shrikara Sri Madhusudana. The 62nd branch of the tree was Shubhuddhi Mishra. The 63rd was Hridayananda. The 64th was Kamala Nayana. The 65th was Mahesh Pandit. The 66th was Shrikara. The 67th was Sri Madhusudana. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, Shubhuddhi Mishra, who was formerly Guna Chuda in Vrindavan, installed Gaur Nityananda deities in a temple in a village known as Belgaum, which is about 3 miles away from Srikhanda. His present descendant is known as Govinda Chandra Goswami. Purushottama Shri Galima Jagannatha Dasa Sri Chandrasekhara Vaidya Dvija Haridasa. The 68th branch of the original tree was Purushottama. The 69th was Sri Galima. The 70th was Jagannath Das. The 71st was Sri Chandrasekhara Vaidya. And the 72nd was Dvija Haridas. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, there is some question about whether Dvija Haridas was the author of Ashtottar Shatanama. He had 2 sons named Sridama and Gokulananda, who were disciples of Sri Advaita Acharya. Their village, Kanchanagaria, is situated within 5 miles of Bajar Rasao station, the 5th station from Azimganj in the district of Murshidabad in West Bengal. Ramadasa Kavi Chandra Sri Gopala Dasa Bhagavatacharya Thakura Saranga Dasa. The 73rd branch of the original tree was Ramdas. The 74th was Kavi Chandra. The 75th was Sri Gopala Das. The 76th was Bhagavatacharya. And the 77th was Thakur Sharanga Das. The Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, in the Gaur Ganadesh Deepika, it is said, Bhagavat Acharya compiled a book entitled Krishna Prema Tarangini, and he was the most beloved devotee of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. When Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited Varahanagar, now a suburb of Calcutta, he stayed in the house of a most fortunate Brahmana who was a very learned scholar in Bhagavad literature. As soon as this Brahmana saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he began to read Srimad Bhagavatam. When Mahaprabhu heard his explanation, which expounded Bhakti Yoga, he immediately became unconscious in ecstasy. Lord Chaitanya later said, I have never heard such a nice explanation of Srimad Bhagavatam. I therefore designate you Bhagavatacharya. Your only duty is to recite Srimad Bhagavatam. That is my injunction. His real name was Raghunath. His monastery, which is situated in Varahanagar, about 3.5 miles north of Calcutta, on the bank of the Ganges, still exists, and it is managed by the initiated disciples of the late Sri Ramdas Babaji. Presently, however, it is not as well managed as in the presence of Babaji Maharaj. Another name of Thakur Sharangadas was Sharanga Thakur. Sometimes He was also called Sharangapani or Sharangadhar. He was a resident of Navadvip in the neighborhood known as Modadruma Dvip, and he used to worship the Supreme Lord in a secluded place on the bank of the Ganges. He was not accepting disciples, but he was repeatedly being inspired from within by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to do so. Thus, one morning, he decided, whoever I shall see, I shall make my disciple. When he went to the bank of the Ganges to take his bath, by chance he saw a dead body floating in the water, and he touched it with his feet. This immediately brought the body to life, and Thakur Sharangadas accepted him as his disciple. This disciple later became famous as Thakur Murari, and his name is always associated with that of Sri Sharanga. His disciplic succession still inhabits the village of Sar. There is a temple at Mamgachi that is said to have been started by Sharanga Thakur. Not long ago, a new temple building was erected in front of the Bakula tree there, and it is now being managed by the members of the Gaudiya Math. It is said that the management of the temple is now far better than before. In the Gaur Ganadesh Deepika 172, it is stated that Sharanga Thakur was formerly a gopi named Nandi Mukhi. Some devotees say that he was formerly Prahlad Maharaj, but Sri Kavi Karnapura says that his father Shivananda Sen does not accept this proposition. See?
I don't know. I'm not the manager.
Hare Krishna. Maharaj, did you have anything to comment on this quite lengthy purport?
No.
Please continue then, Prabhu, if you don't
We
mind.
have a question from Saraswati Mataji. Should I go ahead? Or
Yes, go ahead. Yes.
Pranams Param Puja Maharaj and all the Vaishnavas. Is the Ishana mentioned here the same one who was a servant who accompanied Sri Sanatan and carried gold coins?
Not likely. There's no mention of that. And Sanatana Goswami said, just you go back home. There's no indication at all that he was the person who later became the servant of Sachimata. He's simply noted for being the servant of Sanatana Goswami who was holding onto the coins and who was later sent home.
We could call him Gold Coin Ishana.
Gold coin.
We're getting close to the top of the hour, and it's time for Kirtan. So would Rakesh Prabhu like to lead us in Kirtan?
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Puramansa Pariprajaka Ashto Tarasatri Shrimad AC Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Nama Charja Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Gun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mahi Ki Jai Jamana Mahi Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to you, assembled devotees. All glories to you, assembled devotees. All glories to you, assembled devotees. Gaur Premde Hari Bo.
Hari Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Maharaj. And thank you, Rakesh Prabhu, for the kirtan.
Haribol Gurudev.
Hey, Hare Krishna.
Thank
You're,
you. Prabhu.
this is Alachua?
Yeah,
See.
yeah. Akinda and Tulsi Priya Prabhus are staying with us for a bit.
Well, good. You can inspire one another in audiobook making.
Exactly. Yeah.
There's a 7th volume Adi Leela that Satsrup Maharaj is keen to see finished.
Right.
And it's a Vanity Karma that Jayādvaita Swami is keen to see. All right. And nice to see you both there. Hare Krishna.
Did you get my email, Gurudev?
I don't think I've looked at it yet.
Okay, no problem.
My email is, oh my goodness,
I can just imagine.
a little bit of a marathon with Vasudev for working on Katha Upanishad until we leave here on the 3rd.
All right.
Thank you, Maharaj. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami Maharaj ki jai.
Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Aye.
Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari.
Jai Gurudev ki jai.
Jai Krishna Kantiya. Hari Bol.
Om.